Good evening, everyone. I am Lynn Gilman, CHW National President. Thank you so much for being here, and a big thank you to Sherry and Philip for hosting us in their beautiful home. Unfortunately, Lisa Cole-Kotler was unable to be here with us today, and I'm speaking on her behalf. In addition to the programs CHW supports, which empower victims of domestic and sexual violence, our 2024 summer campaign addresses critical trauma recovery and PTSD treatment for women and children in Israel. At this pivotal moment in time, we are stepping up our support by introducing new projects that will fill the gap and encourage those most at risk. One of our newest projects is HaGal Sheli. For over a decade, HaGal Sheli, which translates to My Wave, has empowered and educated youth nationwide to conquer life's challenges by harnessing the transformative power of surfing, fostering personal growth, resilience, and success. In the aftermath of the attacks of October 7th, HaGal Sheli launched an emergency trauma intervention program to prevent the onset of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, among the affected individuals. For over 100 years, CHW has enriched the lives of at-risk women and children, and we are so proud to extend our reach to the participants of HaGal Sheli. It is my pleasure now to introduce our two guest speakers. First is Effie Shapiro, HaGal Sheli's International Partnership Director. Effie made Aliyah from the US in 2012 with Garim Sabar to Kibbutz Urim in the Gaza envelope and served in the Intelligence Corps. Effie is an enthusiastic surfer, sailor, and diver, finding solace and refuge in the sea throughout his life. He holds a bachelor's degree in international relations and Arabic, and a master's degree in marine archaeology. Following years of service in the defense field, he has since dedicated himself to the nonprofit sector, aiming to make a lasting positive impact on Israeli society by harnessing the educational therapeutic powers of the sea and surfing. Our second guest speaker is Khalil Valiano, a survivor of the Nova Festival. Khalil is 23 from Petah Tikva. He completed his secondary education at the 6-year Golda Meir High School in Petah Tikva, majoring in art. During his high school time, he participated in several leadership programs, including Young Ambassadors Program, and he competed in the debate competitions, both in Israel and abroad. Despite being exempt from conscription, Khalil volunteered for military service and served as a sound technician in Galei Tzahal. Previously employed as a sales manager at Israel's premium luxury perfume boutique until October 7th, Khalil's life took a new direction following that tragic day. He participated in multiple delegations across Israel and abroad, including conducting interviews with Greek media to advocate for Israel and share his personal journey. Khalil actively participates in Tools from the Waves, a trauma therapy program offered by the Israeli nonprofit HaGal Sheli. This program utilizes surfing to aid trauma survivors in their recovery. Khalil cherishes every moment and dances in memory of his friends who were tragically killed on that terrible Saturday. First, we will hear from Effie, and then we will hear from Khalil, and then we will have time for questions and answers. So please join me in welcoming Effie and Khalil.
Really, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you to everyone who really made the effort to come out tonight. It really is not taken for granted. Thank you to CHW. Thank you to everyone who helped put this together. thank you to our incredible hosts, Sheri and Phil. Really, thank you. That's it means a ton. I mean, we're sitting in your home in your beautiful living room with unbelievable, friends and community members. This idea of a home is much more than just four walls and a roof. Especially if we're looking back, about 10 months now, where so many Israelis and a lot of people in our community that don't have a home to go back to. So sitting here, really, it's very powerful that everybody has come here and you've opened your home, not just to us, but to all of the HaGal Sheli community. Many that don't have that. So thank you. It means a ton. Okay, so this time, all of you that were on the video, I'm not going to cry. I'm a very emotional guy. But if I do shed a tear, know that it's you're more than welcome to. Also, I didn't bring tissues, so if anybody has, please. So thank you for the incredible introduction. Like I said, I grew up in the States, and after many years, both in intelligence and the Army, and continuing on after that. After I got out, I continued down that path and worked in the defense field until I really wanted to do something that was less quote-unquote defense-y, you could say. And I thought back to really what are the values, what are the reasons that brought me to Israel in the first place. I grew up in a very Zionistic household. I went to Young Judea as a kid, through camp. Grew up going to Israel, really since I was a kid, every single year. And I saw really, this beautiful side of Israel that, many of us as Jews living in the diaspora, see as, this place of refuge for all of us. And, just like every beautiful place, there's always an underbelly. There's always something that, maybe we're not necessarily aware of, because, it's this, romanticized version of what it means to be Jewish and what Israel means to us as Jews in the diaspora. And that said, I wanted to do something that really would give back and help ensure the future of Israel and help those that essentially don't always have the true backing that a lot of us sitting in this room, may or may not have had, whether it be from our parents or friends or community. And the perfect place that I found to do that was HaGal Sheli. It's been now a little over 4 years, where HaGal Sheli, both matched in terms of, talk about like, you walking down the street and you see someone that looks exactly like you. It's kind of freaky that you see a doppelganger like that. First time I was introduced to HaGal Sheli, I was like, okay, that's weird. Like there's a incredible community of when I started a little over 4 years ago, there were 3 centers, a management team of only about 10, and about 200 total volunteers. And I saw this community of 200 people that were just like me, the same values. Maybe we don't agree on everything, but very much mirrored exactly what I was looking for, not only for a workplace but also for a way to give back. For over a decade now, almost 11 years, since 2013, HaGal Sheli has been doing exactly that, where we've been in the mental health field since day one, primarily working with vulnerable populations, at-risk youth, individuals with disabilities, special needs, and a very small pilot program back in 2021 with veterans with PTSD, where we took, working with the Ministry of Defense Rehabilitation Department, where they would come to us as sort of part of their basket, I guess you could call it, of therapeutic options, and would come to us for therapy using surfing. But let's take a step back. Like, why surfing? Anybody here, I don't know, a swimmer, runner, anybody? Shout it out if you guys are. It's all good. Yeah? Yeah. I know you guys are. I saw a picture in the bathroom of a surfer, so gives it away. Anybody else?
Surfer, swimmer.
Surfer, swimmer. Okay. What do you experience in the sea surfing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, depends on the lineup. depends who's out in the water, but yeah, I mean, it can be beautiful for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
being out in the ocean in general, of course, is always great. Yeah.
Okay. And as a swimmer?
Both the exercise of it, but also just kind of being there and looking at the trees and
Yeah.
just, yeah, it's a peaceful, I was swimming when I was still working, and I
Yeah.
would plan my day while I was swimming, figure out what I was gonna wear, work through a meeting, all in my head as I was swimming.
Incredible. Yeah. So it's something that is very peaceful. It sort of helps put everything sort of in order. Also depends on what's going on in the lineup, but this idea of being in the ocean is very special and it's very unique. And we would argue that it's the ultimate educational and therapeutic arena, strictly because of that. So what we do is we take, back in the day, where it started just vulnerable populations and at-risk youth, ages 12, 13 until 18, 19, so in the prime developmental stages of anyone's life, where you take kids from some of the hardest backgrounds of, from welfare, so it could be, even just a kid that, needs a little bit of extra, tender love and care in school, to something on the exact opposite end, where they've been, removed from their homes by the courts. They're living in a closed dormitory because of, sexual abuse at home, domestic violence. Work with the criminal justice or the juvenile justice system. Excuse me. So really, it's when we say at risk, it's a very, very broad term and spectrum. But what we start to understand is that using surfing as not just an educational but a therapeutic arena. You can use the unpredictability of the sea. You can use the way that the sea mirrors life itself to actually break through to kids that always have sort of been the chest out, kind of I can do whatever I want, but within something is forcing them to act that way. And on the contrary, when we work with veterans who are 45 years old, who have it could be high functioning PTSD, trauma survivors, or the opposite, of very low functioning, where they can't hold a job. They might be a parent, but they're not a father, they're not a mother. And we started seeing that using the sea in the therapeutic arena based off this idea of blue mind or blue space, based off of years and years and years of research that shows that any sort of physical activity is actually good for your mental psyche. Living in an environment close to some sort of body of water, it doesn't matter if it's a little creek, a stream, Lake Ontario, the Mediterranean, or the Pacific Ocean. Just that idea of being close to a body of water is good for you. And so when you combine everything into this crazy idea of surfing, where you're sort of thrown in the water, all of a sudden you have to be present. You have to be aware of your surroundings. In a sense, you're sort of grounded. You're always looking towards the next wave. If you get up on the surfboard and immediately you fall off, then you're looking to the next one to actually stand up. I mean, it's right in front of us. You can see this is the perfect metaphor for not just life, but also for a trauma survivor or an at-risk youth, or anyone that has some sort of experience deep down inside of them that's helping them look forward instead of actually looking backwards. So what we do is we're not just like a surf camp or a surf school where you come, you rent a board, or a week later or a month later you're a surfer. It's a 5-year program where you're referred either by the Ministry of Welfare, by a school system, by a social worker, or by the Ministry of Welfare or the Ministry of Defense or whatnot. In year 1, you use the sea as sort of that idea of metaphor for life. What's a current? How does a current play a role in the ocean? You then go out into the sea. You experience that current as a surfer, as a swimmer, or whatever. And you come back into the classroom and discuss, how does that current affect me? How can I use that current either to my advantage, or let it sweep me out to sea, and I'll have to learn to deal with the consequences. And from that first year program where you're with a group of 15 individuals from either your same community, your same school, your same framework, you then have the option to move on to our leadership and development program where, anybody go to summer camp here? Yeah. So summer camp is sort of the perfect model of what HaGal Sheli has become. Instead of just for session 1 and session 2, where you're with the same kids, same bunk, until you become a CIT. At HaGal Sheli, it's 4 years, every single week, with the same kids from all across Israeli society, where then you become a CIT by year 5, and you're not only a surf instructor, but you're also a relatable mentor for the kids that say, I'll never amount to anything, how could I? Oh, but all of a sudden, yeah, he did. He's there and he's teaching me. So it's this beautiful model of sort of like a big brother, big sister kind of a program where it gives you sort of something to look up to. And so if you take almost this 11 years or post or pre-October 7th, 10 years of experience working in the mental health and educational field. October 6th, we had 3,200 participants coming on a weekly basis across 10 centers, and we have a staff of 350. So it's become a very well-established organization. And October 7th hits, and what do? All of a sudden, 18% of our staff was drafted. And we tragically lost one of our team members to Marsemet at the Nova Festival. It's something that here in Canada and the States, you might say 6 degrees of separation, or in the Jewish community maybe a little less. In Israel, it's not even a degree. It's everything hit very, very close to home, and as a team, we really. Everything went down on Saturday. Sunday we were on Zoom with the management team to see what can we do. We've 10 years of building relationships from across Israel. We work with 120 different municipalities and frameworks and government organizations. Like, we have to be able to do something based off these 10 years. And all of a sudden we understood, okay, we have this program that's been running for the past 3 years, specifically designed for trauma, specifically designed to work with PTSD. So we call up Dr. Tamar Dagan, who helped write the program. We're like, hey, doctor, we want to hit the ground running. Is this a copy-paste kind of situation where we can, just go and, straight to the communities and get kids in the water? She said, no, hold on. The way that you work with individuals with PTSD is completely different than acute trauma. Especially, the differences in ages and whatnot, it's completely different. So we took a couple of days to really figure out, how we're going to adapt and expand. A lot of organizations in Israel have been doing incredible work, pivoted. HaGal Sheli expanded, just adapted and expanded. Something that already was in existence. And we started off with Kfar Aza and Shfaim. The head of our advisory board is Major General Roni Numa, and he sort of helped guide us to where everyone was being evacuated to, and we just were like, we're not waiting, we're not worrying about funding, we're going to get as many kids in the water as we can. And that first month, working primarily with Kfar Aza, and then the second week, word started to spread, and thankfully, and we had a lot of incredible relationships, and people trusted us because of the past 10 years, and we went to them, and so we started seeing incredible progress. When you're working with individuals who have just experienced such immense traumas, and it's very fresh. If you say you'll be okay, if you're stronger, no, I'm not. Well, what did I just experience? These are all very general, broad sayings, or just trying to make you feel better. It feels like a Band-Aid almost. What you have to do is give an authentic sense of success based off of incremental victories, and a support system that isn't just gonna disappear. What we saw in the beginning of the war was a lot of, obviously it was rooted in kindness and wanting to do something, but a lot of the help across Israel would come. We're like, here, take food. Here, take 5 PlayStations. Here, let's have a fun day, a concert. That's fine. That's temporary. But right after that, they leave, and then there's the next round. But we said, we're like, no, we're here. We're not leaving for however long it takes, and whatever you need, we'll be there in the morning, the night. It doesn't matter. So in the beginning, working with the program participants, every single day for the first month, 2 months, until slowly they start stepping out of the room, start stepping out of the kibbutz, go down to the beach, get their toes in the water, until finally they get on the board, and all of a sudden, they're standing up. They might fall down, and then they stand up, and they have something to look forward to. All of a sudden, their confidence is through the roof. They're feeling really great, and although that might be some sort of feeling of temporary excitement, at least it shows that that's possible. And so what we try to do is, using the surf therapy program, which is the introductory program, is 15 sessions, each about 3 hours, with clinical social workers trained specifically in trauma, clinical psychologists. So it's not just a 20-year-old surfer who loves to get in. Fine, they can help, except they're not the ones that are actually doing the therapy. We sit with them. We help them through whatever they need. Help them get that true, authentic feeling of success, and look forward instead of backwards. I think Khalil here is the definition of, I don't want to use the word success, but what I do want to use is this idea of growth. And we hear this word of resilience bounce all over the place, especially since October 7th. And if you ask me, I'm not a fan of it. Why? Because resilience essentially is saying, okay, this is the situation at hand. This is, these are my symptoms. Fine. Okay, I'll deal with it. But the second that you help an individual like Cleo understand that, okay, this is the reality that's at hand, I can learn tools that will help me build resilience and strength. But what do I do with that resiliency? Like, how can I pass along that resiliency? And the second you think about how can I pass that resiliency on, that's already what's called PTG, post-traumatic growth, meaning that you're looking ahead and not saying, okay, I'm fine with the status quo. I want to help other trauma survivors reach the point that I have. And that's really what HaGal Sheli is. It's a community filled with people, from therapists all the way down to participants like Cleo that are looking forward and looking ahead and saying that I'm going to grow from here. So with that said, I've spoken enough, and Cleo.
Yeah, I prefer speaking standing up. So hi. I wanna firstly thank you all for having us here, and thank Philip and Sheri for having us. One thing that I've learned since October 7th that is very important to me to spread is the feeling of family within the Jewish communities around the world. One thing that I got corrected throughout the time is not calling the Jewish people of the diaspora. It's more of a family from abroad for me. And actually, fun story. Yesterday I flew in to Canada, and on my way I went to Charles de Gaulle through Paris, and I've met with this young religious lady who served the army for the last couple of months. And we've met with another wife of a rabbi here in Toronto, and it was an amazing meeting of three separate ends, edges of being Jewish, and that's something really, really special. The feeling of it doesn't matter where I am. I always have a family if I have someone Jewish as I am. that's the most wonderful feeling, knowing that I have family all across the globe, and that's why I'm feeling here, and I want to thank you all for it and for having us. And yeah, my story, my 7th October story. Actually, it starts a day before. Up until October 7th, I was a manager in a boutique perfume in Jaffa, as I got in the introduction. And the thing that I liked doing for fun was going to nature festivals, nature parties. One of the most special things about the trance music community in Israel is that it's the most non-judgmental, most loving, embracing group of people that I've ever met. You can just go through a crowd and you'll see everyone are beautiful people, but not in the sense of symmetrical faces and those bright blue eyes, but it's the things that you see within those eyes, through those eyes. And that's something really special about the trance music community. And the reason why I say it is because there's such a deep spiritual connection to those festivals. For myself, I'm not a religious person. I'm a proud Jewish person, but I'm not a religious person. But the way that I pray is I dance. The place of my worship, my synagogue, is the dance floor. And that's the importance of those festivals for me. And that's where everything happened. So I arrived to the perimeter about 1:30 a.m. I arrived with my ex-girlfriend Lior, her younger sister, which is a good friend of mine, and a group of other friends. I must say when I start, we're all back home, complete in body, but our soul got damaged a bit. So I had a privilege of dancing, celebrating life for about 5 hours before everything began, just going through the crowd, getting hugs, getting love by everyone, just feeling the music, feeling the nature. And then 6:30 hits, the first boom that came from the sky, not from the great sound system that we had there. And everything started. We understood that something isn't right. We live in Israel. We know the situation in the south can be sometimes fragile, but for about 20 minutes the rockets hadn't stopped coming, and they just kept on coming. And we didn't know it by then, but the terrorists were already on their way to us. I don't know who of you have been to the perimeter of the Nova, but it's quite near. It's not more than 2 kilometers from Gaza itself. So it took us about 20 minutes to figure out, okay, we need to go. We had, luckily we were sitting next to the emergency exit, so we saw the herd of people just rushing to their cars, and we understood that if we'll get out right now, we'll be like sitting ducks, in my car. So we waited till the music stopped and the cops started evacuating everyone. And we made sure that when we get to the road, the cops told us, you go right, you turn right, you go through Re'im to Road 6, and then you go home to Tel Aviv. We said, okay, we got into my car, and even before I start the car, there's a big traffic jam in front of me. All of those 3,500 people just rushing out, and the parking lot was a mess. I'm part Dutch, so I like waiting in lines, but the same day I cut through the lines. I used it. I used to have a lowrider, a Skoda Superb, so I drive under the trees, bumping the downside of the car, but at least we got out of there, and then we got to the main road. As I said, we made sure that we need to go right, but when we approached the main road, I saw 3 or 4 cars just rushing from south to north, from right to my left. I thought for a second, and I understood that they know something that neither the police nor I knows, and I decided to follow them. We entered a big traffic jam. We got stopped on the main road. From 2 lanes, it became 4 lanes, and there was no place to move. we decided to get out of my car. We're crouching, facing east, and we've waited and waited and waited till we started hearing gunshots. The gunshots came from south, so we ran up north till we got to a barricade, to police cars that blocked the road. We waited on the side of the road for about 10 to 20 minutes till the shooting got much closer to us, and we decided, okay, now it's the time to go to the open field. We have no other way instead of hiding in the bushes, so we need to get out of here as fast as possible, even if it means to run through an open field. Luckily for us, we saw that the police opened another trail for on the off-road for cars to get off towards east. And we saw another car with only 2 people going towards us. We told them, you're going the wrong way. We're gonna enter the car, turn it around, and go after them. We're 5 people in the back of the car. Lior, my ex, sitting on me. Danielle, her sister, sitting on our side with her door slightly open just in case we need to get out again. And it wasn't late after that, and we had to get out of there again. I remember we entered another traffic jam on the off-road trail, and I looked to my left and I saw a group of about 200 people, kids, just my age. And I remember them going up a hill, and when the first 15 or 20 people got up through the peak of the hill, we started hearing gunshots. And all of those people who went the other side of us came rushing back to us. And I remember just people falling, and I think to myself, okay, those are kids running barefooted after a festival. They're exhausted. I'm sure they will get up, but they haven't. I remember another group of kids just going under a group of trees, putting their hands against their knees and gasping for a bit of air, and they got shot from another direction. Then we got out of the car. Luckily for us, you can call it the hand of God, you can call it whatever you'd like, but we saw a big Dodge Ram, a big pickup truck just rushing through the field. We shouted to him, stop the car, and he managed to hear us. He stopped the car, and we got onto the back of the car, 16 people just on top of each other, a total mess, but that was the only way getting out of there. We started driving for about 40 minutes off-road till we got to the main road. Then we got to Netivot police station. And for the course of 11 hours of hiding every 10 minutes from red alarms and sirens, rockets, being the day in a police station is like being with a target on your head, on your forehead. And I remember the feeling when it started getting dark, the thoughts of how I'm gonna get out of here, what I'm gonna do if they'll come here. My girlfriend is with me, her sister is with me. I have some kind of responsibility for their parents, to bring them home. Luckily for us, an evacuation bus from Be'eri, who got shot on the way to Tel Aviv, they had to return and they stopped at Netivot police station to change the bus. And they had enough room for us to get on and get to Tel Aviv. We got home, I think it was about midnight, and that's the end of October 7th. But then we wake up to October 8th. A whole new horrible reality. More than 250 hostages. One of them is a good friend of mine, still being held hostage there. Her body is there in Bar Haiman. I always say there are people who bring light to the world. She was shining color. She was the most colorful person I've ever knew, always wearing beautiful butterflies to her hair. More than 405 people who got murdered only from the Nova Festival, people who I danced with only a couple of hours ago. With that, a lot of anxiety, intrusive thoughts, Things that I try not to do, like nowadays I always sit with my face towards the door. I can't sit anymore in the first line in the cafe. All those little things, this new reality that I had to live with. For the first 2 months, I haven't got out of my house unless it was to meet with other survivors where I don't need to speak of anything, just be myself with all of the things that I go through and they go through. And after 2 months of having, just like Effie said, here, get this concert, you want to eat, you can have everything that you want, but nothing stayed with us. And then we have this big WhatsApp group for survivors, and I got this message that said, you can come surf and use surfing as a therapeutical tool. I thought to myself, okay, that's a lifelong dream for me. I haven't surfed before. Lior, my ex, she used to surf a bit. And I thought to myself, okay, that's a wonderful opportunity for us to do something. And I remember picking up the phone, calling the surf instructor, and he said the most pleasant surprise. It's not only, as Effie said, it's not an academy. You come, you get a surf, get into the water, get your smile up and go out. It's not like touch and go. They take us hand by hand. They told us that we get psychology with us, and that was amazing. They don't just throw us to the water and expect us to have fun or anything. They take us hand by hand, giving us actual tools to cope with everything. Model Stop is one of them, which says stop, take a breath, observe, and then take an action. Some of those practical tools helped me stand right here, being on the other side of the planet, where Israel is right now under a very hard threats from all over, but I'm here being able to share my own experience and share those amazing moments, magical moments that goes in those groups. Actually, my first time in HaGal Sheli wasn't the smoothest sail as it may sound and it might appear, but I remember myself getting into the water, and the moment my feet took off the ground, everything come closing on me. The feeling of anxiety, the feeling of hopeless, being in the water and don't feeling like I have something, somewhere to stand. I remember myself getting out of the water, taking off my wetsuit, and I thought to myself, okay, that's the first and the last time I'm here. Next week came by, and I got up really sick, but my girlfriend, she said, okay, I'm gonna go surf. If you wanna come, come. If you don't wanna come, don't come. I had no choice, I had to come. So I sat on the beach, and I remember watching my friends going into the water with their surfboards, and I saw everyone getting out of the water with smiles smearing upon their faces, and I thought to myself, okay, next week I'm gonna be there with them. Next week came, and ever since, it's a new passion, a new thing that it became the most anticipated moment of my week. I used to surf on Fridays, so on Friday Eve and Arochat Shabbat, I would already imagine what I'll do next week, how many waves I'll catch, and just as Effie said, it's a pure mirror of our soul, especially for people who went through trauma. One day I can wake up feeling fine, like the sea. It can be flat, but after a couple of hours it can be stormy and windy and unexpected. And being in the water and having to deal with all of this and falling down and getting up on the surfboard, watching for our next wave, and the moment my focus is off, I fall. The wave hits me, just like that. So I must stay present in the moment, and that's amazing thing to be able to feel after just trying to get out of my head for the first couple of months. And that's the power and that's the magic that this place does. Ever since a good friend of mine, as well as my ex-girlfriend and her sister have been through the program, and I can see how much it helps them. And that's the reason why I'm here. To help, just as Effie said, to help many survivors as I. And seeing each and every group opens and another friend of mine saying, hey, I'm going to HaGal Sheli. That's one of the things that brings me meaning in life right now. And that's what I try to do. Sharing my story, helping this place who helped me so much, and strengthening the relations which are so important nowadays. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you for hearing me.
We have some time now for some questions. So, anybody have a question can start right now. Yes.
I was going to ask why to see what you've been surfing, but you've already answered that. I can see why CHW is involved in this because we also deal with children who've been, come from broken homes and trauma. So this is just another arm for us, and it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Who supports this? And is it government? Is it donation? How do you keep this going?
So it's a great question. HaGal Sheli doesn't do anything alone. We very much believe in working together with both existing organizations, government bodies, and especially the Jewish communities abroad. So the way it works is, in the year one program, everything is through a cost share agreement. So the framework of wherever the participants come from, they pay half, and then HaGal Sheli through philanthropy pays for the other half. With the trauma program, it costs $16,000, and $6,000 comes from the framework, and then the other 10 from philanthropy. But that said, we also work. It's now going into its third year with the Ministry of Welfare. We have a joint venture where they match every dollar. We work with the Ministry of Defense Rehabilitation Department, abroad. And we work with our incredible partners here at CHW. We work with Jewish federations in North America, a lot of Jewish communities in the States. We have a Friends of in the States also that we just opened. In 2022 we were incorporated. So in Israel we're pretty well known. Abroad it's really no one knows about us. You can say that in 2023 our budget was $4.7 million US, 81% of which came from within Israel. So it's a very Israeli organization, which is very unique for an Israeli nonprofit where we look domestically first. So we're very, very well supported. And that said, it goes beyond funding. The partnerships and it's true grassroots movement in Israel, meaning that we work with over 120 municipalities, regional councils, from north to south, and that's helped us reach our over 12,500 graduates of the program over the past 11 years, and since October 7th, we now have 1,800 plus participants strictly in the trauma program, and it's because of that. That's also there are a lot of challenges with scaling and growth like that. It's nuts. If we right before October 7th we had 3,200 participants, and October 7th until now sitting here we have just about 5,000. So we're planning on opening another, or fast tracking plans for another 3 centers. We're planning for 2027 that will open within the next I assume year, strictly because of the need and the uncertainty that it's still very much is blanketing Israel right now. So
Effie, you actually just answered my question, because I was going to ask you, with the influx of so many students or whatever, that that's your biggest challenge, I guess,
Right.
right now, is, and what to do. So how do people get like, how do the young people get referred to you? Like when, after October 7th, how did, I mean, like you said that you were, that you knew about them already, or how did you?
I didn't know them
Yeah.
about HaGal Sheli before,
Yeah,
but
so-
we have this big WhatsApp group of survivors with more than 1,000
and
people.
then somebody
Someone
suggested?
sent a message, and I can tell you that even nowadays, they send those kind of messages, and
Okay.
with every new group, we get notified through some kind of net.
Okay, so it's word of mouth, or is it,
So
is
it's
it
a
also at the
mix.
schools?
Yeah,
or-
so it's a mix. It's also a lot of word of mouth. Or like, we have over 350 volunteers, and a lot of whom, are coming back from reserves. And the second they
Right.
come back from reserves, that they want to do something, especially for their their team in the army. So that's how we reach a lot of the soldiers before they actually come through Ministry of Defense, or because we're working with 120 municipalities. They already know who we are, they know the program, and so they reach out to us saying, hey, we have a group of kids that really could benefit from the program, and so they're referred. Same through Ministry of Welfare. So it's a mix, but the majority is they're reaching us either via another framework, or we work with like Natal or Kfar Izun, or the Israel Trauma Coalition. So we really work with everyone in the field, and that's how people get to us. Yeah.
So how did you manage after October 7th? You said a lot of your staff was called up. So how did you handle that? Did other people step up? How did you do it?
That's a great question. It was very challenging. We were very fortunate in the sense that while a lot were called up, we also had an incredible, our inbox was flooded with requests of how can I help? I'm a therapist, I'm a social worker, I'm whatever. What can I do? So even for the educational program, even if you're a professor of I don't know, clinical social work and specializing in at-risk youth, you still have to go through a 2-day training program to understand exactly how the syllabus works and the methodology and everything. So usually we would have once a month after October 7th, strictly with the trauma program. We started every 2 weeks we would have onboarding. And I mean, we grew tremendously because everybody wanted to do something. This beautiful idea of collective action, collective responsibility, and I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It was, yeah.
And is the program, or like the therapeutic part of it, is it one-on-one? Is it in groups? I'm guessing the surfing is in groups.
Yeah, so the way every meeting goes is by a method of head, body, head. So we start the session with talking about how we've been through the week and how everyone's feeling, and if there's something special that we need to talk about or address. Then we have a small session of learning about how waves are formed, or what is a current and how we deal with it. And on some sessions we'd work on those practical tools, model stop, model efrat, all of those tools to how to cope, and the therapeutic session. Then we'll get out to the water, and using those same tools, the same principles, then we'll get back to the class and we'll speak about how the experience that we had in the sea, and how it affects us, and how the tools helped us or didn't help us throughout the day. So it's really it starts with a session of speaking and sharing, and it ends with the same idea. So it really concludes everything with surfing being in the middle.
And do most people stay in the group, like you're in your group, do most people continue to come back to the program? Or do you have some that don't continue, or did you find that you made remember you talked about that collective resilience where you just stay together, or did people, maybe some just didn't think it was for them and they didn't come back? Or?
So as you have it with people who went through acute trauma just as this, you can try to offer them consistency, but it's up to them. Just as I felt one day that it's too much for me, but I haven't missed one meeting. That's at least for me. I can say that people from my group, one of them in a matter of a week decided that he's traveling to India. And from 2 weeks he stayed for 2 months, so we lost him on the way. But when he returned, he came for one session. And all of those people from my group, some of them had those bad days that you just can't get out of the bed. You don't have the physical energy to get out of bed. And you just have to understand it. But for the most part, people came and it's really important. They ask us when we start the program. They don't tell us that we have to come to every meeting, but they state how important it is to have this consistency and to come to every meeting and to come to the most of them at least, so we can build this group and the feeling of intimacy with the group, so you can share more
and learn from each other and heal with each other.
Absolutely.
Effie, maybe you can share with the group. I mean, obviously, there's acute trauma, and I think there's what is called continuing trauma.
Right.
And maybe to bring it kind of forward to today, the North and what's happening, share with us, where you think things are at.
It's
someone had that.
Yeah. I'm glad you did, because the North is it's unique in the sense that even after when we think about October 7th immediately, and rightfully so, the most horrific tragedies happened in the Gaza envelope, but the ongoing displacement of the northern communities has oftentimes fell below the radar. Whereas now, we see that, the rebuilding process down south, as at least, taking the first step where a lot of the communities can, move down into temporary locations where they can go back to their original schools if they're operating, or so it's not like they're in a hotel room in Shfaim, for example. So that we see since October 7th, a lot of the communities in the Gaza envelope and down south are beginning to move south. Up north, that's not the case, and there's no end in sight. And with that, we spoke about a home at the very beginning. They literally also don't have a home. Many have been shelled. Many are completely, communities just completely uprooted. And that also is this idea of continuing trauma. And HaGal Sheli, strictly because of the 10 locations that we have, where the furthest north is Nahariya, which currently isn't operational because of the security situation, but the next one further south is in the Krayot and in Kiryat Yam, and the furthest south is Ashkelon. So if we talk about continuity, especially when having consistency and structure, regardless of whatever that uncertainty might be, HaGal Sheli is that, where it doesn't matter if I'm from Kfar Aza and I was in Shfaim and now I'm starting to go back down south and I'm in Ruchama or whatever, I can go to Ashkelon. If I'm from up north and I've been evacuated to around Netanya and I'm going to Hadassah-WIZO and our center there, it's there. It doesn't matter if I then go further north or I go further south. There always will be a location with a staff in place that will always have my back and be there for me. So I mean, we're, every single day is, a new challenge, and we're literally. I had to fit it in here at some point, but riding the wave to doing whatever we can with whatever situations at hand. But it's also one of the challenges is scaling and making sure that we're always keeping our eye on the ball and understanding that regardless of where they end up, and especially with the situation up north, that we can't put all our eggs in one basket, and understand that we're just going to get everybody in the water because we don't know what that will be. And we also see now a lot of the first 6 months or so was a lot of evacuees from down south and up north. Now we're starting to see a lot of soldiers coming back from the front, and so we're working now a lot of the new groups are not just north, but also soldiers and now first responders, and so just like it's snowballing. Yeah.
I think that was a really good question to end the session, and I'd like to thank Effie and Khalil for joining us here this evening to speak to us about HaGal Sheli and the transformative power to heal. Khalil, we are so inspired by your story, and we all wish you much strength in your personal healing and helping others as well. HaGal Sheli is funded this year with a gift from CHW of $12,500, and through CHW's 27-hour crowdfunding campaign, which is coming up in a few days, August 20th to 21st. Those funds will be quadrupled by our many donors who have already agreed to match every dollar donated online. Consider making a donation during those 27 hours to increase your impact and help us reach our goal of $650,000 to support HaGal Sheli and 5 other vital programs. The other programs are Franny's Fund, which is in Canada, which provides access to critical resources such as legal counsel and therapeutic counseling services. Her Academy in Israel, another new project this year, which works to empower women escaping prostitution by supporting vocational training and job placement services. WIZO services in Israel, which includes safety net, essential kits, and respite summer camp, which provide women and their children with essentials, social and personal support, employment support, and a network of other women in similar circumstances, and funds for respite summer camp experiences for at-risk youth. Also, Michal Sela Forum in Israel, which provide women and children with specially trained canine protection, 24/7 security services, self-defense lessons, and legal support. And of course, Shamir Medical Center in Israel, which is supporting groundbreaking PTSD treatment utilizing hyperbaric oxygen treatment therapy. What can you do? You can also help by volunteering as a canvasser to call donors to support during the 27-hour campaign. You can consider becoming a matching donor. You can donate to the S.O.S campaign on August 20th and 21st, or consider funding HaGal Sheli with a $12,500 donation, heck, round it up to $13,000. However you decide to extend your support, you will be changing lives. You will be providing hope, and you will help build the future for Israel. You can speak to Barb or Rosenstein, who's here, myself, or Jennifer, or call the office tomorrow. Our heartfelt gratitude to Sherry and Philip for their hospitality, and to all of you for being here this evening. And I hope you will stay to have some refreshments. And thank you very much. And thank you all for being here.